Hello and welcome to the LLG Bulletin vlog. I'm Helen McGrath, Head of Public Affairs, and joining me today is Bulletin Editor Dennis Hall.
Hello, everyone.
Now, in the vlog, we will give you a quick heads up of what's happening in the world of local government law and practice. So let us kick off your week. Dennis, what caught your attention?
Well, Helen, I always like to watch out for changes and trends that might have a bearing upon how local government lawyers might work in the future. And LexisNexis have published a report that suggests that models of charging for legal work based on billable hours are no longer fashionable. Now, we're all too familiar with the concept that you may charge notionally for what you do for a client department under an internal SLA, perhaps, or even you may be charging an external client, or even setting up the charging arrangements for a planned framework. But in all of these situations, the central question is this: as a provider of legal services, how can efficiency and value be demonstrated in service delivery? Take a look too at a recent law care report, which found that increasing numbers of lawyers are worried about their careers in the law, and many new entrants to the profession are concerned about the lack of supervision and the lack of support. Helen.
Well, wood burners are in the news, Dennis. Theresa Coffey, Environment Secretary, has stated an intention to restrict high-polluting wood burners, but as no extra money is being provided to enforce the regulations, councils are understandably concerned that enforcement of any new laws will be impossible. Councillor David Renard of the Local Government Association said councils are happy to take on these responsibilities, but we need funding to resource them properly. Councils have very limited resources with so much going on in social care. Balancing these priorities is a real problem. Now, in other news, in the Lords, peers are starting this week debating key provisions in the Public Order and Bill, and rumour has it will make a serious attempt, to quote the BBC, gut the retained EU law bill. Now, these are two big areas which could cause some difficulties for the government. Focusing on the retained EU law revocation and reform bill, this will be the first debate that peers have had, and concerns will be raised around whether removing the laws inherited from the EU by the end of the year can be achieved in such a short period of time, and whether it will give far too much power to ministers. It's reported that there is a big list of peers down to speak. I've read Lord Heseltine and Lord Frost amongst them. The Lords' influential Delegated Powers Committee has just issued a report proposing that the, quote, cliff edge clause under which EU-derived law will cease to have effect at the end of December, and the clause giving ministers powers to rewrite those laws should be removed. Commentators are expecting a lively debate, with the real potential for the Lords to clip the powers in the bill and send it back to Parliament. If ping pong ensues, this will, of course, frustrate the government's timetable. And now for a sneaky peek at what's coming up in Bulletin number 5. Dennis.
Well, Bulletin 5 will include items on homelessness as government publishes the latest guidance for local authorities. For procurement lawyers, there's a link to the newly revised collection of policy notes that were all updated last Tuesday. And we have all the reports and commentary on last week's Supreme Court decision concerning the Tate Gallery and neighbour privacy. Helen.
Indeed, and for more detailed coverage of the bulletin entries, don't forget to listen to the Grapevine podcast. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
See you next week.